Hello, everyone. My name is Beryl, and welcome to my podcast, Creative Force. If this is your first time listening, it is good to have you with us. For everyone else, I'd like to welcome you back. I'm here to bring you creative people in all genres of art, crafts, culture, and information about topics of interest. All of these things begin with the force of creativity. If you enjoy listening to Creative Force, please consider subscribing so you don't miss an episode. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Creative Force with your host, Beryl. Well, the show is about creativity in many different genres, and today we are blessed with the presence of three artists and one acting as a curator. The show that we're going to be talking about today opened June 1st, and it's going to be up until June 23rd. We have one of the curators with us, Katrina, and we have two artists, Pamela and Larry. All right, Katrina, why don't you please start by letting us know the name of the show, where the show is, and a little background.
Sure. Thank you, Beryl. My name is Katrina Jeffries, and I'm one of the participants in the No Longer Empty Curatorial Lab. And we were invited to Kings County Hospital to produce a show, an exhibition, an art exhibition, and programming in an unused space in the hospital. The exhibition is called Aftercare, and it's about, we're exploring the theme of care after you leave the hospital, care of the people who are caring for you in the hospital, and all the things that relate to healing from trauma, and also how you seek wellness within the community. So, the Director of Wellness and Recovery Division at Kings County Hospital, Carlos Rodriguez Perez, is the person who invited No Longer Empty into the space. This is our third year of doing exhibition and programming. The first 2 years we just did it with the YX, which is the Youth Exhibition Program. And this year we've done the Youth Exhibition and the No Longer Empty Lab.
So one of the things I've read about the aftercare program is it using a former emergency waiting room? I mean, what was the
Yes.
space before?
Yeah, the space was the psychiatric emergency waiting room, and it's no longer in use, and so it's a swing space for the hospital. So they've used it for meetings. They had a retirement party there last week. An organization named Kavi was holding yoga workshops every Wednesday. So it's just kind of a space that people can book and use as a community space within the hospital.
Okay, so it was curated, the exhibition was curated by the 2019 NLE Lab. What does NLE stand for?
NLE stands for No Longer Empty, and that is an organization that was established, a nonprofit arts organization that was established in 2011, 2012, to create art in spaces that are in underused spaces, in areas of the city that have less art exposure or art institutions or places where people can view art. So it's about animating spaces that are maybe unusual places that you might expect to encounter art, and then inviting the community in to interact with this art, giving the artists opportunity to find new audiences that are outside the traditional places that artists might find themselves, such as galleries and museums and educational institutions, and to see what kind of parody we can create, or what kind of things can happen just naturally as we put this together as the event rolls out.
Well, that's good. I actually did come to the show, the opening on Saturday, and I was quite pleased with the many with the exhibitions that were being presented.
Thank you.
They were very unique, they were technical, they were beautifully done, and a lot of the stories behind them were also very, very interesting. One of the things that I'd like I'd like you to talk about and let us know is perhaps besides the two artists that are here, if you could give us a little input as to who the other artists were and the types of exhibitions that were being presented.
Sure. Well, first of all, I have to let you know there are 10 of us in the lab. So there are 10 curators. So it was very challenging to have 10 people come together and be in agreement about what was going to be in the room.
Do you think?
But we did it. We
Right.
did it. So we had a list of about 80 artists that we began with. And it
Wow.
was just exploring, first of all, we came up with a theme, and then we just began to look at artists like everywhere. Some were former NLE artists who had been presented in other spaces. Some were just artists that we found here at Brick in the biennial.
Shout out to Brick.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we just everybody just used their contacts. We went to spaces. We did studio visits.
Wow.
We just were all over the place.
Over what period of time?
We started meeting in March.
Okay.
So it's a very short period of time in order to create something like this. And I think we've done a great job.
Absolutely.
Because, we have to put something in a community. I'm the only person really who's from the community. The rest of the cohort is from all kinds of places. We have a woman from Denmark. We have a woman who's Chinese, but she just graduated from school in Baltimore.
Wow.
We have, we have a woman who's a social worker and runs a program in the Bronx. We have people who are not necessarily have artistic backgrounds, but come from art history backgrounds and administrative backgrounds who
Okay.
have not ever actually put together a show like this. So it's a learning process for them, and it's also, how to do community engagement, how to create relationships. So we wanted to bring together not just traditional pieces of art, but also experiences for people that come to the exhibition. So besides Pamela and Larry, and I say Pamela's probably, her and another artist, Malik Roberts, are probably the most traditional pieces of art
Okay.
that we have in the room. Everyone else's is a little more either installation or video or some kind of components combined. So one of the artists is Bobby Anspach, and we saw his piece at the Brick Biennial, and we were interested in him, so we went for a studio visit, which was really amazing. And we saw a piece that he had there, and we said we thought this piece would be really great for our exhibition because it's an accessible piece because you can
Right.
sit in a chair.
And what does it do?
He makes these pieces that are meditative. So
Okay.
they're called Place for Continuous Eye Contact, and each piece is named that, and he just gives a number to the next iteration of it.
Right.
So you sit in it, you put on headphones, you listen to music, you gaze into your own eyes, and you just he puts you into this environment that's very calming and meditative.
Well, I actually went in that.
How'd you like
I
it?
call it sort of like a performance piece, actually. But I loved it because I have meditated, so I know how my body reacts when I meditate.
Mhm.
And one of the main things I noticed in being in there was how my breathing had become more controlled and, as if I was in a meditative state. So it was very interesting.
Yeah. Then we have a young artist. Her name is Quincy Baker. She did the piece that was in the window. She works with hair. So hair extensions and beads and ponytail adornments. And she created a piece called Sky Blue. And the whole idea is that behind it was that when you come out of the hospital, the first thing when you're released from the hospital, when you come out of the hospital, the first thing you want to do is see the blue sky. So it's a beautiful installation that is in a large window, and she uses the medium of hair braiding to relate to that's a tradition that is in the African American culture and that everybody can relate to, but she's elevating it into artworks.
Mm-hmm.
We have a piece by an artist named Chloe Bass. It's called Experiments in Joy. It's also a kind of thing where two people sit and they time each other and they gaze at each other and then they record their reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have sheets of paper you can take away and you can continue to like remember things that you felt while you were where you were gazing to this person's eyes.
It was very interactive.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Then we have a piece, Damian Davis, and it's a collage, but it's a collage made of wood, and it's large. It's like 63 by 68 inches on the wall in the hallway, and it's called Blood Cells, Blackamoor's College Series number 131. And Damian Davis does work about sickle cell anemia.
Mm-hmm.
He had a brother who has sickle cell anemia, and he makes these large pieces that really address that disease in the African American community. We have Diane Xavier, Each Body is Still a Miracle. She has printed text that she talks about experiences within the healing community. She's also going to be doing a workshop on June 15th. And that's free and open to the public. We just require that you RSVP on the website.
Okay. So at the end of the program, we'll give everyone that information.
Yeah. We have an installation by Kiara Amaya Gopi, and she's a Trinidadian artist called Artifact Number 3, Terra Nullius. And it's her interpretation of 3 generations of experiences of women in her family recovering from trauma. So it's...
What's the medium?
It's installation. So there's video, there's a wash basin and a washboard that she's constructed out of wood and glass.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has a video that is reflected off of the water in the wash basin. So the idea is that you go in there and you listen to her video, you see the images, and then you have the opportunity to write on a chalkboard. She asks you to comment about what you think family is. So the idea is that family is not necessarily the people that you were born into, but what you go out into the world and who you create and who you decide is your family, who supports you. We have Charlie Gross. He is in residence at the hospital with the behavioral health system, and he is a photographer and a therapist. So he works with people who are kind of in the outpatient system,
Mm-hmm.
and does photography with them, and then talks with and does therapy with them. And so he's recorded some of their
That was
sessions.
interesting.
Yeah,
Well, I think everything I have seen in that show was interesting. Everything.
yeah. We have
So-
Taja Lindley, who is her piece is a video piece called an installation, Bag Lady in Black, Iteration 2. And she is a young woman who she has a thing called Color Girls Hustle. She's part of Harriet's Apothecary. She herself just received I forget what you call it.
An award.
Well, it's an award, but a residency with
Okay.
with the Department of Health.
Okay, great. great
So she
great.
just received an award of a residency with the
So
Department of Health.
are you listening, listeners? You have got to go out and see this show if you're anywhere near Brooklyn, New York. So I'm going to let Katrina continue.
Sure. We have Malik Roberts, who has a piece, It Couldn't Be Unseen, and it's about young black men and what they experience. And it's it's realism and abstraction on the same canvas, which also has an AV component, an AR activation component. So
And what's an AR? Because some people might not know.
Yeah, that's
Artificial.
reality.
Okay.
Augmented reality.
Mhm.
So you take the iPod, and when you place the iPod in front of the painting, pieces of painting begin to be animated,
Right.
which is it's really
It's
amazing.
very interesting.
We have Soul Sax, the blues for instrumental cases like Ms. Esmeen Green's. So Sol Sax's piece really addresses his history of his relationship with the hospital. He was born there. He and his mother were treated there. He's had, a lot of interaction with the hospital. And he wanted to use the case of Esmeen Green to bring attention to the state of the way patients are treated in the mental health system continuing.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we have to add that he utilized Monk as the guitarist with background music, which is just awesome.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And Ezra Wube, who created, he works in film, but he creates the components and does animation with them. So a couple of years ago, he did something called Flatbushtopia, in which he interactively created all these representations of some of the businesses in Flatbush. And then some were real businesses, some were imagined places. And then he created an animated film, and this is the first time the film is being shown. And of course, we have Jenny Pollack, who created ice, in the case of emergency, ice signs in English and Haitian Creole. And those just kind of have to be experienced when you come in the hospital.
Okay.
So
I don't think I saw those. Where were they?
they were
at?
you probably missed them because they look like they're real signs.
Okay, that'll do it.
So they say ice escape, in case of ice escape routes.
Okay.
And of course we have Larry Weeks and Pamela Allen, and
Yes.
they're here, so I want them to talk about their work.
So why don't we start with you, Pamela? This is Pamela Allen, and if you'd give us a background of who, where, how long you've been an artist,
Well,
and the pieces that you have in the show.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me.
Yes, you're quite welcome.
My name is Pamela Allen, and I am a visual artist. I'm Jamaican-born, Brooklyn-based. I've been making art for over 39 years. I don't really know a time when I wasn't an artist in my life. I mean, it's how I process. It's always how I've processed.
You were probably born
Life.
an artist, actually.
I arrived this way. Feet first, I arrived.
Okay.
Born artist. And the work that I have, I'm also an educator, I should say. I'm a teaching artist. I go into underrepresented schools and senior centers and institutions and create lesson plans that are based in arts making but connect to curriculum.
Okay. Is that something that you do on your own, or are you doing it through an organization?
It's something that I do through organizations. Currently, I am working with Brooklyn Arts Council,
Okay.
Community Word Project, and I have done actually a lot of special ed residencies with Brick
Nice.
back in the day. So the work that I have that Katrina and the NLE Lab chose to incorporate into the show, it's entitled Ahimsa, and it is a mixed media piece of work. It's a mandala that speaks to regeneration, healing, accepting and finding found objects and reappropriating them to make them something real. So the name
Could you just let us know
Ahimsa.
what mandala is? Because some people may not know.
Absolutely. A mandala is a Sanskrit word that means perfect circle. And many traditions, cultures, religions use the mandala in their healing practice, in their rituals. So the Buddhists use mandalas, West Africans use mandalas, Native Americans use mandalas. Generally, they're sand mandalas, and they tend to speak, in Buddhism and in Hinduism, they are a way to express a teaching. They're a
So with it
visualization
being
of a
made
teaching.
in sand, it means that it's not long lasting, that it'll be recreated.
Exactly. There is an
Okay.
impermanence.
Mm-hmm.
There is always impermanence. So I began to make mandalas after a residency, a painter's residency in Delhi in India, after going up to Norbalinka in the north, in the Dalai Lama's holy seat. Now, I'm not Buddhist, I'm not Catholic, I'm not Christian, but I do.
Theosophical.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Because I am too.
Perfect. And all of these things, I mean, they're all the same, really, at the end of the day. So, and we share so much. Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word that means do no harm. And I incorporated this text into the mandala that Katrina and the NLE team chose, because I feel that that's how we need to approach life in general. Right? No highs, no lows. I've had quite a bit of trauma in my life and in my experience, and in making these mandalas and taking found objects like the sand and incorporating them, or like taking recycled objects like the handmade paper that the little faces that you see are created with. That, for me, brings full circle, aside from the fact that everything is a circle. Our eyes are circles, our irises are circles, our cells are circles, the sun is a circle. So it's a healing process for me. Art making for me is about healing myself. And then throughout the process of creating an image that heals myself, the viewer is left with an image that brings them to peace and that brings them to breath. That's the premise of my work in general. I come from a long line of sort of mystic creatives who have been, in essence, attempting to make themselves useful through their practice, whatever that is.
So the particular piece that you have in this show, was it inspired by anything in particular in your life at the time of creation?
Yes, I started to make these circles, right, and these mandalas after I had to take my second mother off of life support. And I was completely cracked down the middle. I really didn't understand anything at that point. It was like I had every brick of sense knocked out of my head. And the only way that I could figure to find myself, find my center, was to make these, just to make things. So those faces, the little faces, I made hundreds of them in that time. Ahimsa took me about 10 years to create.
Wow.
The sand comes from my little kayaking journeys with my friend Ginny out in Hampton Bays in the Shinnecock Inlets in Native American country and sacred lands. So we sort of, go to each little island and pick up a little bit of sand. I asked for permission if I could bring it back from, and bring it and incorporate it into my work. So it's always there's always a process of healing that needs to happen. My late brother, had just died after a psychotic episode. He had schizophrenia. So there was ahimsa, do no harm, just heal, do no harm. It was, in a way, a message to myself.
Yes.
To do no harm and to don't live in the guilt, because, the thing about aftercare is it also addresses the caregiver.
Right. Did I do enough? Could I have done more?
Exactly. Those of us who are sort of in the perimeter and in the lives of those who need care. So really, it's a trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma.
Yes.
And ahimsa is a desire and a reaching out. At the very center of the mandala is a piece of quartz crystal, which is meant to just, channel in positive energy.
Right, center.
And center.
So could you give us the spelling of ahimsa? So if someone wanted to do research and who may not be familiar with the word.
Absolutely. It's AHIMSA.
Thank you.
Ahimsa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now here we are with Mr. Larry Weeks.
Well, hello everyone. My name, as you know, as it's just said, my name is Larry Weeks. And I've been an artist, I think, all of my life. It's always been something that I've worked at and tried to incorporate throughout my life. I worked in the graphic design field where I used my artistic skills. I worked in the fashion industry where I also use creative skills, and I am currently embarking upon building a fine arts career at the ripe old age of 66. So
All right.
this is my fourth career in my life, and so it's a learning experience, and challenging and educational, and it's my passion. So
Okay.
after years of working with people, for people,
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm working my passion.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, but it's difficult to
Oh,
to
come
get
on,
things.
Larry, Larry.
Well, I have to be realistic
It's difficult in getting what, Larry?
and getting the message that you want to get out. Because as an artist, and you got to find the venues to get it out and get it recognized.
Right.
And that's why I appreciated this opportunity to participate
Well, thank you very much.
in this event, and participate in the podcast, and participate with the NLE whole event. So
Right.
artists are constantly struggling about getting their message out. So
Right,
anyway,
right.
that we
Especially in this political climate,
yes,
you know. But so, tell us about.
Can I just interrupt you for a
Yes,
minute? Larry, I just want to speak to that as a curator to artists.
Mhm.
When a curator approaches you and says, "Hey, this is happening," please
it.
do it. Do everything that you can to respond to that, even if it's like crazy deadlines, because this is exactly what Larry is saying. The reason why I really wanted to do this project is so that I could reach out to artists in the community who do
Right.
not have the opportunities to get this kind of platform to present their work.
Yes.
To have people to get the eyes in front of their work that No Longer Empty has contacts with is really, really important. And that was, me being one of the artists in this community and understanding, the art from the end of the museum and gallery end to the community end of it, and understanding that to bridge that gap is super, super difficult.
Yes.
So, I had to really reach out to a lot of people, and people don't respond, or they're like, I don't want to do this. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Just, man,
Yeah, do
when
it.
an opportunity comes, artists,
Just do
please
it.
don't say no.
Right.
Jump on it, because you just never know where it's going to lead
Well,
you.
you know what else, and like not to take, not to reach into Larry's time right now and snatch it away.
Go right ahead.
But I'm also an artist, a fine artist, as well as a glass artist, as well as a podcaster, and doing films, short docs. And I find one of the things that is preventing a lot of people from getting these opportunities is their either inability, lack of interest, or stubborn refusal of getting involved with the internet, web-based situations and information. And if you want to stay in the dark ages of not looking into using these resources, it's sad. So I think each of us should try and reach out and bring somebody from the past into
Yes,
the present
yes.
and
Absolutely.
the future.
Absolutely.
Well,
If you got to drag them, do it.
that's what I'm doing on my other side as
Yes.
treasurer of Fulton Art Fair, is getting this contingency of 40 plus artists and getting them to get their work out there and getting exposure for them.
Right,
So
right.
that's one of the things that, yes, it drives me crazy.
And what were you speaking of? What was the name of that
The
organization?
Fulton Art Fair.
All right, the Fulton Art Fair, and that's coming up June
Well,
8th, in fact, right?
we're trying to get away from the concept that the Fulton Art Fair is a one event a year thing. That's what it was for the last 58 years. It was one event on the fence, which is coming up next weekend, and it'll be for the next 3 weekends, where artists come out to Robert Fulton Park and they display their artwork.
And Robert Fulton Park is where?
It's across the street from Boys and Girls at Fulton Street, Harriet Tubman Avenue, and Schenectady.
Okay. All right. And what times are you out there on Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 6, weather permitting.
Okay. And also,
Aftercare is from Wednesday through Sunday from 12 to 7 p.m. This Wednesday, we're actually having a program with Naliaka Wakisi, who is a vegan chef, called Exploring Plant-Based Soul Food. So it's a free program. You have to go to the website nolongerempty.org, look for events, and it's right there, June 5th. And we have a limited RSVP, so if you hear this and you want to do it, sign up fast.
and what is the website again?
nolongerempty.org.
And that's the whole word.
Yes.
Okay.
No,
cool.
no spaces.
Right. And what is your website, Larry?
FultonArtFair.net.
Okay. Now, Larry, finally,
Yes, ma'am.
can you tell us about the piece that you have in
Well-
this wonderful exhibit at Kings County Hospital?
It's very curious. I originally, when Katrina came to me about it, I didn't know that Pamela was also participating, because I've been saying for years to her that we both do things that we call Mandelas, and we should do something together. So we finally got that energy together in one room. The piece that I have in the show is called Mandela number 7. And I call them Mandelas because I interpret one of the aspects of Mandelas is about individuals and the energy of the universe. So my Mandelas portray an individual and their unique energy force.
Okay.
So each one has a different energy, and I also bring energy to the piece by using lights. So light is an important form of energy.
Yes.
And so I try to and some of them have different themes. There's a mandala that looks like water. There's one that involves technology.
Is that the one that's in the show, the water one, number
No,
7?
the one that's in the show is a general energy. So they take on different characteristics of different individuals. But my goal, there's one piece in the show, but the goal for me is to display multiple mandalas.
At one time.
At one time. So that people can see that your individuality contributes to the greater universe and then the energy of the universe.
Right. So now in your piece, excuse me, do you use light? What is your source of light?
Well, technically they're
Yes.
they're
Is it a secret?
No, it's my energy that I put into a little bottle on the back, and it
And say
powers-
Shazam,
yeah,
and then it works.
and it powers the whole piece. Okay,
That's what's up.
it's a LED strip light,
Okay.
and it's AC powered, and it's something that's commercially available. It's not something.
Well,
that I
it's not
designed.
like I would
It's a
just come to
tool.
the show and look at it and say, oh, that's LED that he's using.
Well, you could. I'm quite sure some of the artists and the curators say, yeah, we know what he's doing.
That's LED.
Yeah.
So now, what is the title of that particular
It's
piece?
Mandela number 7.
Oh, number 7, that's right. I'm sorry.
There's only one that has an actual title.
And what is that?
That's the Mandala.
Okay.
Man-
Was that the original one?
No, it's probably number 6 in the
Okay.
series.
And why does that have that
Well,
name?
I wanted to pay homage to Nelson Mandela. So
Okay, see?
So this-
Glad I asked.
Yeah, so this piece contains photographs of Nelson
Okay.
Mandela and also some of his famous quotes.
All right, nice.
So I try to bring that energy to the piece.
All right, great.
Larry,
Great.
can you talk about your I-we concept?
Thank you.
And in the center of all of the Mandelas and also in other pieces, there's a figure, a male figure. And
Is that you?
No.
Okay.
I wish. and what it try and it's the original piece that I did maybe 15, 20 years ago was about showing that although this figure looks like one individual, through the artwork, it was a series of photographs or graphics, and you saw the transition, and zooming into the figure, you saw that it was made up of many figures.
Oh, okay.
So I tried to communicate that although I am an individual, I'm part of the greater we. So I call that my I, we man, and he doesn't represent just men, he represents humanity.
Yes, all right.
And
So that's the basic theme behind it.
Yes, so all of these pieces, a lot of my what I call photogami pieces, because I take photographs and manipulate them, they also have an I, we figure in them. And so I've transitioned that into my mandalas and also into my other artworks, because trying to make the spirits come together, the energy come together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think this show did that a lot in terms of bringing the spirituality, the interest in health, mental health, to the forefront. It was very interesting, and listeners, try and get out and see both shows. You have Saturday and Sunday to do.
And Wednesday through Friday.
And
We're
Wednesday,
at the
that's
hospital.
right. And what hours are you at the hospital?
From 12 to 7.
Okay.
We're in the C building, CG 95, and it's
Okay.
when you're walking along Carlton Avenue,
Clarkson.
Clarkson Avenue.
Uh-huh.
We're near 37th Street, but it's an older part of the hospital
Right.
that sticks out and has black decoration on it.
What
yeah.
iron?
Yeah, some kind of decoration.
Yeah.
There's a little fence in front of it. But I wanted to just mention one more artist. We commissioned an artist, Catherine Coe. She was actually a surgeon. She's actually a brain surgeon who used to work at the hospital, and she's an artist. So we commissioned some coloring book pages from her. She has 3 pages out of the brain surgeon's coloring book that we have on the table when you come into the exhibition space, and you can sit down and color.
Right.
And people were saying like, "Oh, this is really relaxing."
Yes,
you know?
yes. Who doesn't like to color?
Exactly.
Okay, because they have adult coloring books now. So
Right.
very nice. Well, I want to thank the 3 of you for stopping by.
Thank you for having us.
You're quite welcome. Thank you, Katrina, Pamela,
Thank you.
and Larry.
Thank you, Beryl.
All right,
Thank you,
listeners,
Beryl.
Thank you,
remember, go out and
Beryl.
see the shows.
Aftercare.
Check it out.
Yep, because they are very, very interesting. All right, and it's a wrap. Ciao. Come back
Bye.
soon. Thank you for listening to the Creative Force podcast with your host, Beryl. If you liked what you heard, come back and let others know about Creative Force. Until next time, be well, be creative, and enjoy living. You can find us at Brooklyn Free Speech Radio under soundcloud.com/BeFreeBK. You can look for us under the hashtag Arts and Culture and also Creative Force. Thank you.